Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. A talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com, for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Robert V. Sicina. Now we're going to be discussing his incredible book, Learn from Failure: The Key to Successful Decision-Making. Man, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's learnfromfailure.com. Now, make sure when you head on over and you pick it up, people, you got to get the latest and greatest, man. You got to get the newest edition, the one that was released in 2026, because it's going to be packed with updated information that you're really going to want to get your hands on. So make sure you're doing just that. Now, before I go any further, I want to quickly take this opportunity and point out the fact that Bob was brought to us by Kravitz & Sons. So for writers out there listening in, if you've gone through your process and now you find yourself at a peculiar position, right? You find yourself between a rock and a hard place because now you're like, Benji, I wrote the book, but I need some help moving it, brother. Well, if that's you find yourself there, head on over to kravitzandsons.com and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is well equipped to help you do just that. And listen, people, man, let's get real for a second, okay? How often do we look at a bad outcome in our lives and we think to ourselves, man, what was I thinking? Yeah, I know, get in line. We've all done it. My hand is in the air. I've done it too. I get it. We all make decisions, thousands a day. But how many of those are made by us versus for us by habit, by fear, by outdated wiring? Whoa, okay. So you see where I'm going here. There is a process to that. When it comes to decision making, believe it or not, there's some science behind it, okay? And like anything else, you can get better at doing it. And now, enter in our guest, because Bob is here and he argues that our entire life is quite literally the sum of our choices. And in his book, he pulls apart the messy human art of decision making, because that's really what it is. Not to help you be perfect. No. But to help you be profoundly more effective. And that is such a key delineation. I'm telling people, listen, this book is wonderfully educational, and it is going to help you shift perspective and build the life that you were looking for upon a solid foundation. Sit back, strap in, have your notebooks ready right now, but by the time we've concluded, be ready to head on over and purchase your copies so you can fill in all the gaps, because, yeah, we're not giving it all away today. Bob, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you for being a guest. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, Benji. Thank you very much for having me.
Bob, listen, it's a pleasure, man. I think what you've comprised here, A, is magnificent, is wonderfully educational, but it's something that we all need. I mean, like I mentioned, who amongst us has not made bad decisions, man? I mean, it happens almost on a daily occurrence, right? Getting better at that, right? Successfully mastering the art of decision making, I think is so profound and something that we're going to be able to benefit from. So let's start off. First and foremost, tell us more about yourself.
I've had a few careers. I started off as a financial services executive, did 14 years in Latin America with Citibank in Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil, went on to become president of the Latin American division of American Express Company. And after a while of that, I kind of tired of big corporations and thought, the way to really get rich is to be an entrepreneur. So I jumped into entrepreneur land with both feet. And I went through 6 different entrepreneurial gigs and swung and struck out I thought to myself, maybe it's time for a change. How about doing something that I had always longed to do, had pictured myself doing someday, and that was to be a professor. And so I got myself a job at American University in the International Business Department. And very early on, this is a long-winded answer, but I'm now getting to the conclusion. Very early on in my career there, I was given the opportunity to create a course from a blank sheet of paper. And in thinking about learning and what I had learned in my career, I realized that I had learned a lot from failure, my own and other people's. And so I decided to create a course that I called Learn from Failure. And it was all based on students working with me and working in teams to analyze high-profile failures to determine what drove the failure, what caused the failure, to see if we could get a better understanding of failed decision-making. And along the way, in teaching that course, which I was blessed, and the course was quite successful in the sense that student sign-up was very good every semester.
Yeah.
And my students inspired me to write a book.
Well, listen, man, let's now go into my next question, okay? Because listen, first and foremost, in the blurb, when you're doing research on it, we come across the quote, and it's a famous quote. Everyone, or a lot of people, of course, have heard of it, right? We are the sum of the decisions we make. I love the quote, heard it a number of times. I fully believe in it. If we are the sum of our decisions, how do we healthily separate learning from our past choices from being defined by them?
I would suggest to you that spending time analyzing past decisions to learn from them is a way to avoid, in fact, being defined by them. Because in developing the understanding of what drove failure, you have better chances of not repeating the failure and becoming a more successful decision maker and not being defined by your failures.
Love that. Okay, flipping it on its head. People, I'm telling you, man, you got to pick up copies. Remember, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's learnfromfailure.com. Head on over there, pick up your copies today. My follow-up question now, Bob, that I want to go into, let's turn it inwardly. Another way of paying it forward, giving advice to others, but oftentimes it might be a little easier to digest something if we see it happening through someone else's eyes. So let's now go there. Can you describe a mistake that you experienced that at the time that it happened felt catastrophic, but in the long calculus of your life became probably the most valuable or formative decision you ever made?
Wow. Well, I would reach back to the time that I was country manager of Citibank's businesses in Colombia. And we had, because of the rules of the Colombian government, we had 51% Colombian shareholders. And we got into a dispute with our Colombian shareholders. And we found ourselves with an uncomfortable concentration, shares in the hands of just a couple of shareholders with 51% that represented control. And Citibank likes to be in control. We went into a process. We actually looked at selling out, and that didn't work out for us. But I found a Colombian shareholder acceptable to Citibank who was willing to buy out the existing shareholders at a price that was acceptable to them. And it was a kind of marriage made in heaven. Very serendipitously, the opportunity came to me, and it was with, in fact, the Archdiocese of Bogota to be the shareholder. And Citibank in New York embraced the solution very quickly as being a great solution. Let's do it. And so I had a term sheet done, and we were on the way to closing a deal, and it came time for home leave, and I went to Vermont on home leave. And while I was there, I got a call from my attorney, you need to come home immediately. And so I did. And because he said the deal's in trouble. And it turns out that at this time, the Pope's banker, a guy named Roberto Calvi, was found hanging off of the London Bridge. He had apparently hung himself. And it was a major crisis that turned into a scandal for the Catholic Church and its banking activities. So the Archdiocese of Bogota walked away from all conversations immediately. And I found myself flat-footed, having embarrassed my seniors in New York by leading them to believe that I had solved the problem prematurely, when in fact the deal wasn't done yet.
Oh, no.
And the deal fell apart. And that cost me an important promotion and was an important lesson to me about the old saw of counting your chickens before they hatch. And at the time, I wrote off the failure to bad luck. Who would have thought this guy was going to commit suicide and create a scandal? And,
right.
How was that going to affect the deal in Colombia, et cetera, et cetera? And it was kind of a house of cards collapsing. But it was a significant failure. And for the longest time, I really didn't learn the right lessons from the failure. And it was only when I developed my thesis on decision-making and came to understand how irrationality, complexity, and uncertainty come into play as three major underpinnings of decision-making. And in my case, uncertainty was the cause of the failure and is there, in fact, in most every decision we make. There is some forecast about the future, which is inherently unknowable. And that's part of the reason why you can become a better decision maker. I can make you a better decision maker, but I can't make you a perfect decision maker.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Bob. And listen, this, of course, is all about decision making, right? And we get that. And I think I want to now transition slightly because in the digital age that we're currently in, we see AI being infused into our lives. Oh, my goodness. It seems like more and more every single day. And as AI begins to make more operational decisions for us, I think there's potential risk there. So I want to now examine things from that perspective. Does your book prepare us for a partnership with AI, not as a dependence on it? And if so, how?
Not directly, but certainly the concept of irrationality in decision making, which is built around the kind of axiom that we don't think the way we think we think. We, in decision making, we think of ourselves as rational when in fact we often, all too often, are not. A key to AI is to use AI rationally, to use the power of AI rationally, to use it for what it's best at doing, and leave the human side for we humans, empathy and those characteristics that are inherently human. Those aspects of decision making need to be left away from AI and kept in the hands of humans. That would be my short answer to your question.
Well, listen,
but it's a big question.
Yeah, big question. And I think it's something that is unavoidable in the world that we currently are in and where it seems like this world is heading. I feel AI is fully embedded into our day-to-day lives, and it's only going to increase with our dependence on it, right? So something to be very mindful of for all of our listeners out there. My final question as we close out, man, if you could get every reader to stop one thing and start one other thing in their decision-making process after reading your book, what would those two things be?
Slow down, focus on process. In decision-making, how you decide is most often more important than what you decide. So focus on your process in decision-making, and that will improve your chances of being a better decision maker.
People, listen, I'm telling you, we've barely scratched the surface. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Remember, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's learnfromfailure.com. You got to purchase copies of this book because I promise you, when you really start to break it down in this way, you are going to do that. You are going to slow down. You're going to think about things more thoroughly, and I promise you, your future selves are going to thank you because of it. This conversation has been a masterclass in turning hindsight into a new kind of foresight. So listen, the takeaway is clear, okay? Your next great decision might just be hidden inside your last big mistake. Head on over there, purchase your copies today, and embark upon the journey. Bob, this has been a true pleasure, man. A wonderfully gratifying conversation. Once again, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you very much for having me, Benji.